Welcome everyone to this week's interview. Today I'm sitting down with Chevy Price of Chevy Price Designs. Chevy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight or this morning?
Doing good so far. So the day's early, but so far it's been good.
Oh yeah.
So I guess Chevy, diving into it first. As a designer, what came first for you? Was it an interest in design, or was it an interest in racing?
Easily racing. My design passion came within the last 5 years because I was already an artistic person, but I never really wanted to design as a profession until high school. We had to pick an extracurricular class, and at first I was going to do IT, but then I don't want to say accidentally joined graphic design, but I kind of joined one of those classes just so I could get out of school earlier, and I found out, hey, I like this. So I figured I might as well design cars while I'm at it. But I was a racing fan right from the get-go. Uh, the theme with my page is bright blue is my favorite color, and that's because of a racing driver, not a NASCAR, but IndyCar, and why my favorite number is 99. And I've just been a NASCAR fan as long as I can remember.
Awesome. For this year, we saw your designs on KBM, and I've heard stories of different drivers and teams. Either the driver being very hands-on, or them letting the designer kind of do their own thing. Working with the sponsor. When it comes to working with Kyle and John Hunter, are either of them very hands-on when it comes to the design?
And when he messaged me, I made a design concept about right after he announced that he was signing. A month later, he contacted me and was like, "Yo, I like this. I want to run this." And it was morally the sponsor, I think, that had more of a say, but he was also very hands-on. He gave, I feel like, more of the advice to me
Mm-hmm.
about what he wanted or what they wanted, whereas other drivers, I'm sure, were just like sending it to the sponsor, and then or the sponsor just does all the work. But I think he did most of the effort into that, and then we all agreed on something, and that's what made it amazing.
That's cool. So, as a designer, what's that feeling like? When you're this NASCAR fan, you've been designing this or that, and then you finally, you're either at the track or whether you tune in on television and you see your design, racing on the track. Can you kind of describe that feeling?
Oh, it's amazing. It's so unreal. And then on top of it, it was one of my favorite drivers that I got my first design on track with a competitive team at Daytona of all places. And he was leading lap. He should have won. He was gonna win. He got rest, but all the TV time it got, all the time and effort I put into designing for 3 years up to that point, finally just felt like it paid off. And same with Spencer as well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
his was more of a surprise because I didn't even know he was running the design because that was kind of one he was going to run last year till all the pandemic stuff hit. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. It's something I can't even put into words, but I'm sure every designer has felt that way, and I'm sure a lot of new designers will feel the same way and know what I've just felt.
Yeah, I feel like there's some people that it's more like design came first. So for them, it's kind of like, well, business as usual. They're used to seeing their design pop up this place or that place. But I feel like when you're a race fan, it's way more special because you're like, oh man, I grew up watching these cars and all. So then it's like I made it. My truck or my design is right up against all the other ones.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Along with KBM, like you said, you did some work for Spencer Davis, including the Darrell Waltrip Throwback. Tell us a little bit about designing a throwback scheme for Darlington. Kind of like the process of choosing it, as well as I guess when you try to bring a scheme from what would have been about 15 years ago, and you try to make it, present day?
Okay, so that whole design idea was Spencer came to me and said, I want to run this Darrell Waltrip throwback. Do your magic. And I think that's literally what he said, just do your magic. And I'm like, okay. But the tricky part of it was I couldn't find a good side view image of it, or really any good perspective like the front or the rear. So I had to guess that. And I got a good enough side angle, a low-res pic, and I think I was able to trace the flames, and that was good enough. And it actually was about dead on. I couldn't believe it, and I'm like, wow, I actually kind of nailed that. The style of the 11 was probably the easiest thing to make. The font was also easy, but they didn't want to run the Toyota font. They wanted to just run their regular in-off font, which is all right. But yeah, Spencer came with all that together, and then I just put it all together. I think it took about maybe 3 hours to do, and that was it.
I got you. Yeah, to me, that's what something is challenging, because I know even for our page, I'll go try to find old photos to post, and it amazes me how there's some of them that you can't find anything, because you would think that with all the photographers you'd have a bunch, or at least decent pics of any car that's ever been on track. And I was like, man, that's got to be a challenge when you're trying to get the little details of it. Because I don't even know if was there a die cast made of that, or I don't know.
Oh, there was. I think that was actually one of the reference photos I had to use, was a die cast that someone had.
Gotcha. So other than your designs, what were some of your favorites that you saw from this prior season, the 2021 season?
Do you mean of mine, or like other people's, or?
Yeah, other designers, whether it's Truck, Cup, Xfinity, were there any that kind of caught your eye, of either you just thinking, man, I like that, or man, as a designer, I know that took some work, or?
Okay. Well, I'll say first and foremost, probably anything Blackbeard design LTD does. That's probably my favorite, because he's kind of what my inspiration was behind designing. I don't want to say that's why I designed everything. I try to, because he does, but I was like, I love the work he does. His Valvoline scheme was probably my favorite of the year. His Ally scheme was also badass. And then Kyle Sykes, that guy, he made Trackhouse look amazing, and that's where his stuff, I feel like, should be. I can't think of a word, but that's where sponsors and teams should just let the creative freedom from the designers go into effect, because I saw a bunch of boring designs, aka Exalta, but there was designs from like Kyle Sykes over at Trackhouse. He made every car beautiful, no matter what. It was wild. It may have been crazy, but it looked amazing. And then he also had Ryan Daly for Starcom. He made a bunch of lookers, and you know why? Because no influence from sponsors, really. They have their say, but they don't go dramatic about it like a bunch of them have. Same with the Fire Alarm and Ty Barker and Spencer Davis, anything that Spencer drove this year. They just let me have the rings to it, really, and I appreciated that. And that's why I was really a fan of how everything turned out. I like sponsors and cars and anything that's like that, but there were several designs that I was a fan of. Teams, all that, I was a fan of this year. I can't just think of one particular.
I got you. Well, yeah, that's sounds awesome. Thanks again for joining us. For people listening, if they want to check out some of your designs and some of your work, where can they find you out online?
Okay, so my Instagram page is Chevy_Price_designs. My Twitter is S_Price_designs. And And then I'm on the Discord NASCAR Design Community channel, but I'm not too sure how what it is on that. But that's about all my social media accounts.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us today.
All right, well, thank you for having me. Have a good one.